Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome to the 13th episode of PHP with MySQL Crash Course for Beginners, File Handling. And PHP file handling involves various functions that allow you to interact with files, such as opening, reading, writing, and closing. Now let's start coding. And here we have got JAVASCRIPT code as our code editor. And if you need to learn more about VS Code, you can watch my VS based series and find the link in the description below. And before we move on, let's create a new file. And let's select sample.php, make a copy, and let's rename it as file-handling.php. And let me close the explorer as well as sample.php. And before we move on, we'll also turn auto reload on. Let's add some PHP tag. Let's echo hello world followed by semicolon, and to turn the auto reload on, you will need to open this file with this go live server by clicking on this go live button. It opens this new tab in the browser. Let's close that tab, get back to VS Code, and right click and hit PHP serve. And now let's close the terminal as well as this notification and make sure that the reload is working. Now let's browse to localhost followed by /php tutorial / and name of the file that we have just created, which is file-handling.php. Hit enter and we get, let me zoom in a bit. And now let's resize the browser as well as editor and make sure that auto reload is working. Let's add some random text here, hit save, and that's working. Now let's cut that line of code from there and get back to file handling. Let's comment that out. And before we move on, let me create another file. For that, let's add some lorem text, and that will be, say, contain 20 characters. Let's wrap the editor and let's cut the text from here, and let's open the explorer, and I am gonna create a new file. Name would be example.txt, and let's paste that lorem text here. Hit save, get back to file handling.php. Let's close the explorer. And by the way, I also provide all of these tutorial files in our GitHub repository, so you can get the file from there for your practice. Now first of all, let's see how you can open a file using PHP script. Let's comment that out. And there are a couple of modes. Let me define that as well. Or let's create a new file. We have modes like to read a file, we have R, and to write a file denoted by W, and to read or write a file denoted by W plus, and say if you want to append any text to your file, that can be denoted by lowercase a. So these are the modes that you will need to specify while reading, writing, or appending to your files. Let's get back to file handling.php. Let's cut that from here. And now, first of all, I'm gonna define a new variable here. The name would be file path equals to, within quotes, it's gonna be example.txt that we just created right here, followed by semicolon. Hit save, nothing happens. Let's go to the next row and let's cut this line of code from here and paste it after file handling. And now we'll start how to open a file using PHP script. Now let's define another variable, which is file equals to, and to open a file you will need to invoke a function called fopen, and that needs a couple of arguments. First, the name of the file right here, and second, the mode. So the name of the file is file path, and the mode, if you just want to open, meaning you want to read the file, that can be R, followed by semicolon. And the story does not end here. First of all, you would like to check if the file is successfully opened. Let's comment that out. Go to the next row. Now to do that, you can define here if else statement. So if you successfully open the file, you would like to say echo file has been successfully opened, followed by semicolon, and after that let's add some line break, and if does not, we are gonna echo error opening the file, followed by semicolon. And as far as this conditional parenthesis concerned, you can specify here this file variable. So this function returns, let me show you, the optional third use include path parameter can be set. Anyways, this fopen function returns true if it successfully opens the file. So if that's true, we would like to echo file has been successfully opened, otherwise error opening the file. So as we hit save, we get this message, file has been successfully opened. Now secondly, let's talk about how you can output the content of the file to the buffer. And as far as output buffer is concerned, it is a temporary storage before it is flushed, meaning sent and discarded to the browser in a web context or to the shell on the command line. So now if you want to output the contents of the file directly to the output buffer, you can use a function, built-in function, which is readfile, and then you will need to pass here the file path as an argument, which is $file path. And as I hit save, we get the text from the file, meaning you have successfully opened the file and also reading it. And when you use functions like echo, print, or generate HTML content, the output buffer is immediately sent to the browser. That's why you get this text from that file. After that, let's move on to that how you can read specific number of bytes. This approach helps to efficiently manage memory and retrieve a specific portion of the file content. So before we move on, let's add some line break. Go to the next row and let's add some room here. Let's browse all the way up. So let's add some comment here. Read file content. And after that, let's read specific number of bytes. Let's comment that out. Go to the next row. And to do that, I'm going to define a new variable here. Say content. Let's make it specific bytes. Specific bytes. So as far as variable naming convention is concerned, that should be descriptive, so you can easily understand, or if you're working in a team, your team will also be able to understand. that's gonna be equal to, now you will need to invoke here a function, say fread, and it will need two arguments. Number one, the file, which is $file, and second, the number of bytes, say 20, followed by semicolon. And now let's hit echo $content, specific bytes. Hit save, and we get the content, which is equal to 20 bytes, or 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Let's copy, paste that in here, and see characters fread. So sorry, my bad, that actually reading specific number of characters. fread actually reads specific number of characters. Now let's add some line break, and next we are gonna discuss that if you aim to read a single character from the file, read a single character, let's comment that out, go to the next row or scroll all the way up, echo, I'm gonna add a heading here, read a single character, CHARACTER, single character. Hit save, and then now you will need to invoke a function which is rewind, and it will need one argument, which is file. And the reason that we use this function before we would read a single character from this file, just to reset the reading. It actually resets file pointer to ensure that subsequent read operations, say the function that we are going to invoke afterwards, start reading from the beginning of the file again. So say if I comment this out just for now, and let's go to the next row and add in here, say a new variable, single character equals to, now to read a single character from a file, you need to invoke a function which is fgetc, and here you'll need to pass file argument followed by semicolon. Now if I hit save, nothing happens because we did not echo. Let's echo $single character followed by semicolon as well as some line break. Hit save, and we get T. Otherwise, say you must be wondering that why not L, because to get this character, this L character, which is the beginning of this file, you will need to invoke this rewind function first to reset the reading. Let's comment that out at semicolon. Now if I hit save, we get L, which is right here. So that's the purpose of this rewind function, why we used it. Now we are going to move on to that how you can read a line or single line rather. Let's comment that out, go to the next row or scroll all the way up, and let's add a heading as well. Read a single line. Now you will need to rewind the reading again with the rewind function and pass here file arguments, and then let me define a new variable here which is single line equals to fgets, and this will need file arguments. And now let's echo single line followed by semicolon and some line break. Now if I hit save, we get, because we have only one line, let's make or edit this. Let's unwrap our editor, and I'm gonna make, let me maximize the browser, and let's take this code to the next line. Hit save. Let's resize that, and now if you notice, we get only single line from the beginning. Let's get back to file handling.php, and after that you would like to read line by line. Let's copy, because we'll also need it in the heading. Hit save, and now let's rewind the reading again, followed by semicolon. And to read the file text line by line, we'll need here a structure, loop structure. Say we are going to use while, and as far as this conditional, by the way, we have discussed all of these loops in our loops episode. If you need to learn more about loops in PHP, you can watch that episode and find the link in the description below. So the condition can be, say here you will need to invoke a function which is feof. This actually returns true if you get to the end of the file. And let's pass here file. Now that will be true. So if we add here sign of exclamation, meaning that not true, this while loop will be stopped. Now what we can do is, let's copy this whole block of code and paste that in here, and we don't need that line break there. So in each iteration it will invoke fgets function to get the single line, and in the subsequent iteration it will get the subsequent single line. That's how it will complete its reading line by line, and once it reaches to the end of the file it will stop, because we have added the condition here. And then let's add line break. Hit save, and we successfully read. Now to make a difference, we can add line number afterwards, or say, or let's add some separator, meaning let's echo couple of hyphens will do. Let's add semicolon, hit save, and after that let's add some line break as well. Hit save. And now if I maximize the browser, that, or let's add that afterwards. Line break should be before hyphens, just to make a difference. Once we read this line number 1, then we also need some line break here. Alright, so that looks nice. So our script reads line number 1 and then adds couple of hyphens, and then reads second line and couple of hyphens. So just to make a difference, I also added these hyphens. Let's resize the browser and get back to VSCODE. Let's cut this extra lines or empty lines. Now you would also like to check end of line. So say if for some reason you want to check end of line, let me add here if statement, and the function we used here, I'm gonna copy and paste that in here. So if that's true, let's scroll all the way up. You would like to echo end of file. Let's add semicolon, hit save, and we get the end of file. And at the end, always remember to close the file. Let's comment that out with the help of fclose built-in function, and pass here file as an argument followed by semicolon and hit save. And after that, say if you want to append some data to existing file, let's comment that out, and let me define a new variable here. Say append text equals to, within quotes, new content appended followed by semicolon. Go to the next line and let's define another variable, which is file equals to, let's open the file again with the help of fopen function. Let's pass here $file path, and it will also need another argument, which is the mode a represents append followed by semicolon. And now if you want to write text to the file, let's comment that out, and you can do that by invoking a function fwrite and pass here two arguments. Number one, the file you want to add the text to, and second, the text you want to add to this file, which is append text followed by semicolon. And let's hit save. Fail to open stream permission. Let's see. Now that returns an error, which is failed to open stream permission denied in this location, just because this folder doesn't have the permission, or the server that we are using right now, which is XAMPP or Apache, doesn't have the permission to write file in this folder, which is htdocs. Now if you're also using Linux, let me show you how you can address this issue. Let me bring up my terminal, and first let's change the directory to say opt-lamp-ht-docs. Now to check the ownership of the folders, let's execute a command here, which is ls-l. Hit enter. Now this is what we have in htdocs folder. So this is our folder, and this folder is owned by And now if you want to make your Apache web server the owner of this folder, so that it will able to write files in this folder, you will need to make some changes, or just simply give the permission to your Apache web server. So for that, first you will need to know the name or the username that Apache server uses. To check username, you can execute say ps-ox pipe egrep within quotes and parenthesis Apache pipe httpd. Hit enter, and that shows you the name of the user of Apache server, which is daemon. So now what you need to do is simply execute a command here, says sudo chown change ownership -r to this user. Let's copy and paste that in here, and path to the folder, which is opt-lamp ht-docs /php tutorial. Hit enter, and if you don't see an error, meaning you have changed the ownership of this folder. Now if we get back to VS Code, and let me bring up the browser as well. Now if I hit save, we don't get any error, hopefully. Now if we open the file, let's close that and append. It's safe. Now notice that it has added new content appended at the end of the file, and then we have end of file. So that's how you can append. Or let's open this file here again, example text, and if I wrap the browser, we have appended. Just because we saved the file twice, it added the same content 2 times. New content appended and new content appended. Let's get back to file-handling.php, and always remember to close the file. Let's comment that out, and by invoking a function fclose and pass here file as an argument followed by a semicolon, and it's safe. And that was all about file handling in PHP. If you have any question, you just feel free to comment below, and do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.